Okay, so I don't know Ariana Grande's song, so I thought she was a clean singer, though. No?
Well, there's one that's like, I'm not going to, 34 plus 35 is one of her songs. So do the math. And
Subtle.
yeah. Yeah.
Maybe
So
I am.
anyway.
Wait, 34 plus 35, I'm missing it.
69, Sia. 69.
34 plus 35 is 30. It's 71. 9. Oh wait, 34 5. Oh my god.
Are you regretting hitting that live button? Sia?
I know. Oh my god. I'm like 34 and in my head I was like 71.
Because I was like, did I
that
pick the
doesn't
wrong
make
numbers of the song? But yeah, that's the song.
Oh. Hey, look. Maths was not my strong suit, everyone, so I apologize.
Well,
But you know what's so funny? It's that awareness or lack of awareness on certain things. And I think that kind of ties into our talk today. Are you guys ready to kick off the Afterglow?
Let's do it. Oh, wait. Is Vince supposed to be gone?
Oh, right. No, not in the pre-talk.
Oh,
not
okay.
like here.
All right.
But now we shall kick off Afterglow, everyone.
All
Let's
right.
do this.
All right.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to the Afterglow Live Recap Podcast. My name is Sia.
And I'm Aaron Greger.
And we are the Dallas co-chairs for Global Leaders Organization. And we're also the co-founders of Innovation Media Enterprises. Just one of the coolest, easiest button ever for all things podcasting. So, Aaron, I'm kind of excited to talk about today's topic because we're producing for a client that's in the ESG industry. So
very into the ESG industry,
like
not dabbling in it,
like knee deep and defining it. So let's talk about this week's Business Acceleration 2.0 series speaker, a familiar face a time or two here at the Afterglow Show, Mr. Joseph Barasanzi. He talked about ESG explained for small businesses. And what's really exciting about this is ESG is environmental, social governance. And oftentimes you kind of think of it as something for the big kids, but that's not necessarily the case. And that's why Joseph really wanted to share with us the importance and the reasoning behind why you would want to, look at ESG for small businesses. So on that note, let us welcome Mr. Vince Poscente, special guest. Vince,
hello,
welcome.
in the house. Here we go.
So Vince, just full disclosure, is the coolest cat you'll ever know. And he happens to be married to the coolest cat, Michelle Emmons Poscente, the CEO of Glow.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm punching out of my weight class. Is that, something like that. I think you do that with a job, but not when you refer to your wife. So anyways, good start.
You kicked your coverage. That's what
I kicked my coverage. Okay, good. Thank you.
All right. Well, since it's football season, I'll go with that. And that's the only reference I kind of understand. So, but Vince Poscente, welcome to the Afterglow. You are amazing. Like, I was going to write this huge bio for you. And I was like, you know what? If we were to do that, it would be like, and welcome to the show. And now we're ending. So I'm going to do a super abbreviated, the stuff that I think is relevant that people may not know so much about you. One of which is, you're Olympian, a former Olympian, and you kick some serious booty, but you have to overcome some little things, which help inspire you as a book author with your latest book, The Earthquake, which we'll talk about shortly, which is why I put it up here. But I wanted to tie your background with what the premise of Earthquake is, and we'll talk about it shortly here. But I do think there is a tie-in with ESG for small businesses. And it's because for small businesses, especially if they're seeking access to capital and they want investors, they have to overcome this little challenge about environmental social governance, which is not a buzzword. It's actually very relevant. So before we go on there, can you explain to us a little bit your little challenge you had to overcome as an Olympian? Because I think it feeds into all the speeches that you do and presentations.
Well, what you might not know from the bio, I'm not sure it's in there, is that I'd raced in a sport called luge for a couple of years, but I quit. And I watched buddies of mine who I luged against marching in the opening. So I had a ticket for the opening ceremonies of the freaking Olympic Games in Calgary and my hometown. And I watched my buddies who didn't quit, and they were marching, and I was in the stands with a ticket. And when you refer to ESG, I often think that we as human beings and even corporations wait until there's a problem, or wait till there's a disaster, or wait until there's an issue and go, oh, wait, why don't we get in front of this, when they're behind, on something. So we can, and that was the case at that age of 26. I'd never ski raced before, but I had tried this sport called speed skiing, and I knew it would be in the Olympics in Albertville, France, 4 years after Calgary. And I just quit everything and thought, I'm not going to have any regrets. And the motivation was to step into something that was so uncertain, but motivated by the sting of regret, really.
So for me, like that regret is, it's almost like it nags at you. Was it a nagging feeling for you, or is it something that you just said,
Yeah.
you know what,
Yeah.
I just want to overcome it?
Yeah, it's as you kind of point that out, it's very simple for me to say it was the opening ceremonies of the Olympic Games, but I stewed on that. That hurts, that stung so much. It wasn't until the summer of after the Olympic Winter Games in Calgary that I fully decided. I mean, I was just tortured by this thought that I just never stepped in. I'm not saying I would have made the luge team, but I am saying I don't know. And that sting was what often we're motivated by. And then when I give speeches, I talk about the balance of aspirational, something you want to go towards, and in the same breath, something that you never want to feel again, or something you want to avoid. When you marry those two things, like the thought of marching in the opening ceremonies, combined with the sting of regret that I wanted to leave behind, that's a very, very powerful motivator and inspiration to be able to step into something that's truly a mountain in front of you. You just go, how am I going to do this?
Oh man. I mean, it just the description of it, and you can actually place yourself being there. And I guess it's got to be one of those things where like, dude, I can do what you're doing. I did what you're doing, and yet I'm the ticket holder and you're the one that gets to walk. You know what I mean? I just knowing that you had the capability, but you weren't there.
Yeah.
Well, and look at, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but look at how many people meme where the guy's digging for the diamond and then he gives up. He's in the, he's in the mine and he was super close. But like, think of how many people those, but they're impatient because the results aren't where they want to be, or, there's just something that they just didn't wait for. And if they'd persevered, you could have been in the Luge Olympics.
There's a lot of that. I mean, when I started ski racing, now appreciate 26 years old, 0 ski race experience. There were many moments along the way where I had to look in the mirror and go, what are you doing? Like, this is so hard. You don't go to the national team and say, hey, can I have a turn? And so there was a lot of innovation. And I will add to that, Aaron, that that feeling of, is this a good idea or is this a bad idea? There's a motto in the Olympic Games, which is Latin. It's Citius Altius Fortius, which is swifter, higher, stronger. And I added a fourth one, which I lived by, and it was Smartius, which was just competing smarter. And that kind of curiosity that you can step in ended up being a central figure for my latest book, The Earthquake, because when you're curious, no matter what the setback you've dealt with, if you stay in that curious mode, you can really stay in the game without feeling like you need to quit or give up.
Well, look, I hate the idea of giving up. It's probably one of the things that maybe has fueled me as an entrepreneur. And I think this again feeds into our conversation with Joseph, because I think there is I don't want to call it a trend. I don't think it's a trend. I do think it's like a change in mentality with business in general, which is having a social impact, having the bigger picture of where your business organization fits within the grand scheme of global commerce and what's a better word I can say? Societal implications of our business or doing business or conducting business.
I would say responsibility,
That's the word.
Yeah. Well, there's such a responsibility, the knee-jerk responsibility within a company is to the stakeholders, people who are either internal or external to the company that, do we provide the product or service? Are we responsible to them? But when you just step back, just a half step, you go, wait a minute, we have a global responsibility. Wait a minute, we have a responsibility to our competitors. We have a responsibility. There's just it's more of a profound meaning behind a company rather than just saying, hey, how did we do this quarter?
Well, and this is why I say we're overcoming, and I'm tiring of tying this back in because it does absolutely make sense. Is this? I've seen so many people, especially as part of Glow, where we're looking at and working and supporting our fellow, business leaders, entrepreneurs on their journey of seeking access to capital, and you're seeing investors pay more attention to organizations that have some kind of governance, that has some kind of bigger picture impact, responsibility, and it's a setback because if you don't have that vision, you don't have that purpose, you don't know what your positioning is. I think there's a lot of companies that are missing out. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are going to miss out. Am I off base?
No, you're not. I just think about what motivates people normally, and it's not just aspirational. Like, it's not just, oh, I want to do good. We're often motivated by, hey, I don't want to do it wrong. I don't want to get busted. I don't want to be the Nikes of the world that were getting slave labor with child labor in some faraway land and then getting busted on that. So the motivation isn't just aspirational, it's avoiding pain. And ESG, that's part of it. I mean, they just want, wait, I have a responsibility, but I also don't want to get in the crosshairs of something where it makes us look bad as well.
Right. And well, we don't want to look bad, but there was a term that they used, and I'm learning all about. I'm learning more about ESG. Like I said, we actually have a client who's knee deep in it, who's actually changing and wanting to bring the idea and concept of ESG from business corporate benefits to the consumer. So, really excited about them. I'll should give them a shout out, Glint. You guys kick some serious butt, but it's the term greenwashing that I'm hearing. Have you heard of that term before?
I've heard it once and I didn't know what they were talking about. So finally, put it to Glow to help you go, oh, that's what that's all about. I really enjoy these weekly things. Sometimes we have hundreds and hundreds of people on, sometimes we don't. But every time I get on those calls, I'm going, oh, that's so interesting. So if you're missing out on those Thursdays, man, check it out. It really is an enlightening hour.
Yeah, no, it is really the thing about things. It's hard as an entrepreneur to dedicate that hour though. And I'm not going to lie to you. Like I make it a priority, and that's why I make it. And that's something that we've all talked about before in the past is prioritization. You can do the things you want to. You just have to choose to make that happen. So, okay, let's talk about social governance, environmental social governance, because I think as a small business owner, I sometimes, I'll admit it, I feel like I'm too small. I feel like at times my podcast business really, like, how much is it really going to impact, the global commerce and, in general, or what I'm doing is going to impact. So how do you envision, and with what you do and with the way your speaking engagements, for example, how do you tie in ESG for your own business?
Well, it's interesting. I've got an assistant and a bookkeeper, and that's it, just the three of us. And to step into having any kind of illusions that I'm a player in the ESG world. But one of the things I insist on my contract, and it almost sounds trivial, but I say no plastic bottles on stage, right? Oh. I just, is that a big thing? Is that an environmental impact? Well, there might be 1,000 people in that room. And if they see plastic on stage, they go, oh, it's okay. Or they go, wow, that's what's it called? When you're blind to something. Anyway, not a blind spot. But anyway,
it's like cognitive dissonance. Like, you do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So just the subtle messaging in terms of that. And it also sends a message to the client to say, hey, we have a responsibility to, have filtered water in a glass. I mean, how hard is that? But it also gives us the chance to do the small things. And, you've been to our place, and we have a greenhouse back here, and beside the greenhouse, there's a compost pile. So when we throw out our garbage, it's stuff that's either recycled. Our recycle and stuff that we can compost is truly amazing. Do I feel like I'm changing anything in terms of global warming or anything like that? No, but I'm doing what I can do. And there's not I don't hang my hat on that. It's just like, hey, if you can do it, then do it. And whatever your small business is, there are small things in messaging and the way you can message, and where you actually buy your materials from, or where you actually are they a social, environmental, responsible company? Because money talks, right?
Yep.
So do you guys think, and I was just, as Joseph was talking yesterday, as you figure, as you plan a business, he was saying it's nice when a company will donate some money towards a cause or something like that. But do you feel going forward, maybe it's not tomorrow, but in the near future, that this is just going to be part of it's like you can't sit back and not stand for something? Do you think it's going to be part of every business going forward, that there is something you do have to stand for? Otherwise, consumers are looking for it now. The younger generation's looking for it. Do you think you won't be successful if you don't make that stand for something?
I think people can feel like they can get away with it for as long as they can. But you're right. This rising generation is truly aware. And this, there's all sorts of camps that are deniers of something, right? And for so long, I just watched a documentary. This is a bit of a left turn, but it'll support the point. It's called Behind the Curve. And Behind the Curve is a documentary profiling people that believe the earth is flat, right? Now, it'd be a layup to make fun of these people, right? It'd just be too easy you almost assume that that's what the documentary is about. But it's actually what makes people think something that's not true. What makes people support something so vehemently that they get together in conferences that is clearly not true? And how do they stay there when they have evidence that it's not true? Like, what is this human condition that has us do that? So, Aaron, in answer to your question, there can be some holdouts in terms of stuff that's saying, well, it's just not true that it matters. It's just not true that it has impact. It's just not true. Whatever narrative they're determined to do, that's part of the human condition. And I do it. I just did it's my 60th birthday, right? The day of my 60th birthday, I knew the yard guys were coming to do some yard work for us. And I look outside and there's two yard guys looking at the swimming pool and not doing anything. I think, and they're so scrawny, their clothes are just hanging off them. So I've got this narrative that the yard guys are supposed to come and are supposed to get it done in the morning. And then I went, wait, he must have dropped off his nephews. That's what it is, his nephews. And then I looked and I said, they're not even fed. I mean, what's the deal? So he doesn't feed his nephews? And so finally I go outside to say, what are you guys doing? And then I go, no, be nice. I say, hey, guys. And they're not turning. And finally they turn around. It's my daughters. They'd flown in to surprise me for my birthday. Now stepping back, you realize the truth is that it was my birthday and my daughters went out of their way to surprise me for my birthday. But when we get a narrative in our mind, they say, this is the truth. The truth is it's yard guys. The truth is that they're dropping off. Truth is, and then I'm taking evidence that I'm just imagining, like these are nephews, and I'm imagining they're not well fed, and that's why they're scrawny. And so we do this. We believe something to be true and march down this path. So when it comes to ESG, there will be a sale that has to happen. It has to sell people on the advantages of it or the avoidance of the pain for not doing it because people take their money elsewhere. And so in a world of instant gratification, it would be wonderful to see us just kind of flip the switch on ESG. But it'll take time, and civilization is messy. People's narratives are messy. And so we'll eventually get there and people can catch up if they will. And then there's going to be people that's just going to believe the earth is flat and there's nothing you can do to convince them otherwise. So there you go.
But on that same flip side, I guess, if we're going to argue that the people that are, quote, flat earthers or have a very solid belief system and they're not going to budge from it, are they really your right audience anyway? Is that something that, as a human, do you really want to invest that much time on something that you're just be bouncing your head against a brick wall, right? So in some ways, I kind of feel like, if you're going to be a socially conscious and value-driven business and organization and person, you got to know when to cut your losses. I hate to say it, but
Well, and I think the example was more on the business side, like the people saying we don't need to do this, screw,
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah, my
we're going to
example,
keep
right.
rolling as, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think maybe you can find and I'm curious to your point, Vince, I think there are people who aren't going to make this a priority. And my question or prediction is, will they be around in 10, 15 years, right? And I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. They might just hang on because they're so determined and they're not going to quit and they're going to believe what they believe and maybe they'll survive and sell to a smaller and smaller market. You know, that's their choice.
I mean, like, I don't want to imply that we're hippy dippies, but times are a changing, folks. And but think about this. The boomer generation is aging out. Okay, they're entering the retirement phase. Even the older Gen Xers, which is breaking my heart a little bit, but that's okay, are entering retirement age. Most of these investors that you see that are up and coming, they're millennials that are having a different focus, different value-based system, different viewpoint on what relationship means to them. So it feels like to me, if you do not understand ESG now, do you think it's your business can sustain without these considerations, especially if you're seeking access to capital? I'm bringing it back to investors.
Yeah, I can see the investors having more and more evidence that this is a good idea. I mean, the fact of the matter is that impact investing is still trending up, but it's not a significant part of the general marketplace. So it hasn't hit that tipping point where it's all of a sudden, oh, we have to get in on this. So, and impact investing and ESG are in the same, they're cousins. I mean, it's being able to understand that, there is truly an opportunity for us to have impact, but the impact investment opportunities by and large aren't as great a number as the actual investment numbers that are happening elsewhere. So this trend is a conscientious one, and it's one that's saying, okay, I'll take 2 points lower, but I'll know that we're making a quality investment, something that has impact in our world. So, it's that balance, and then greed is sometimes always wins. So there has to be that conscientiousness that starts to play into this. And sometimes people go, la, 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 la. They don't want to know.
I think what we're fundamentally not answering that question is the one that we all need to answer is what's in it for me. Right.
Yeah.
And I think ESG, I think conceptually, obviously, I don't think people are inherently want to say, oh, screw the environment, screw the people, I mean, like, around you. I think we're all good people. Maybe this is me being the optimist here. Maybe I should drink more coffee on this, but I do think people inherently are good people. They do want best things for themselves and their family, for example.
Right.
So it's not that there's ill will towards other consciously. It's more of I'm going to focus on what benefits me and my family first before others. I think that's a different mentality. I wonder if ESG has a branding problem.
That's maybe part of it, but I flash back to a client of ours that is an oil company, and they were laying some pipe in Colombia, and they had these training courses, and people were dying. I mean, it was really truly tragic, and they couldn't get these guys to be more safe on the job. And so what we did was we went to the families. The basically in this situation down in Colombia, it was 100% the wives. And we said, do you want your breadwinner to come home at night? Do you want your husband to come home? Do you want the person you love to come home at night? And it's like, yeah. And so we had the whole campaign around the emotional quotient around this. Not that it was rational, not that it was a rational thing to be safe on the job. And then all of a sudden the deaths went down to zero and the incidents went down, and we had a shift because there was an emotional connection to that. And so the human condition is wired that way. We will make a decision when there's an emotion attached to it. And, this global warming and looking at the numbers, for example, the data and the statistics, it isn't until somebody goes, wait a minute, how is this going to impact my kids? how is this, if I'm holding a grandchild, what kind of world am I leaving this grandchild? Then there's an emotional connection to this. So is that more motivating than numbers on a page? So that's how it's going to work.
Well, and so here's the deal too. And I'm trying to figure out how to work, because I know there are evil people. Like, I think of this whole thing of the Blackhawks organization, the hockey team, and they put some stuff under the rug back in 2010 to win. Right. Darn well, there are people who turn the other cheek from an evil standpoint to let somebody go. So I am not saying this is in all cases, but I do feel like when it comes to the industry of oil and gas, I've talked to enough people in that industry that, yes, there are bad eggs. There are bad eggs in any industry. But I truly feel that some of those people feel they're doing what is best, right? Like a lot of people, well, wind is bad because you can't really do anything with the wind things once they are destroyed or whatever. So I don't feel like everybody's, in it from a perspective necessary. There are greedy people, and I'm very much trying to walk around this, but I also feel that there are some people who from the outside look like they're being greedy and bad, but they truly feel that they're coming from what they feel is best.
Yeah, there's a narrative. That they're running down.
Are you trying to do like the plot line for Thanos, like in Marvel comics? Like, he killed half the universe, but for the greater good of all. Like,
right. That's very similar.
Yeah. And that's the ironies I mentioned. But I have a question. What happened with the Blackhawks? I don't know what your guys are talking about.
There was some sexual assault that happened back in 2010. It was right before the year that they won the Stanley Cup, turned the other cheek, let this guy go off, let him go, but gave him a raving review. Something else happened at a high schooler in Michigan. And then this other guy ended up coming forward as John Doe. Like, there's all these allegations, and looks into it. And their response is, we've changed some things around here. Don't worry about it. And it's like, well, you changed stuff. You're all good. You're good. But so anyway, but
case in point, they're going to change now that they've had the pain, right?
That they've got caught. Yeah.
They got caught. Or there's something like, it is a big issue, and it should be addressed. You have a 20-year-old rookie who's raped by a video, and this is all alleged, I guess, but it's certainly he's suing the Blackhawks to say, that's unacceptable. How brave is that for that guy to come forward, the hockey player?
I mean, just there's so many things we can go on that. So, okay, so let's tie this all back, because we could talk to you, Vince, forever. So, again, the way I title it was like the earthquake shaking ESG in small businesses, because I wanted to tie in your book, because I do think there's some relevancy in general. And quite frankly, all the GLOW speakers that we have at Business Acceleration 2.0 series every week, I mean, I feel like your book is kind of like every time we're having a conversation, you could be like, hey, the earthquake actually references something like this. Like, you might want to check it out. Yeah. So, I mean, what was the onus? Because you wrote Ant and the Elephant, and the earthquake is a sequel, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So what was it? What was your inspiration? Because I thought Ant and Elephant was such a great parable. Why write the earthquake?
Well, let's just define the ant and the elephant as the conscious and subconscious mind. So the parable is a representation for something in real life. And in this case, the conscious mind, the ant, is on the back of the elephant making decisions on where to go. And the ant says, I want to go west, and starts marching west. But in the case of the book, the elephant is headed east. And the ant's going, wait a minute, why am I east? I thought I was walking west. What's going on here? And then realizes, hey, you're on the back of the elephant. You have to figure out how to get the subconscious mind to go in the same direction as your intention. And so with that premise in mind, the Ant and the Elephant book did really well. LeBron James quoted it in Sports Illustrated. FedEx picked it up. DuPont. I mean, there's all sorts of companies that resonate, and individuals, with this concept of aligning your ant and the elephant. But when you go through an earthquake, a personal earthquake, and I mean some devastation that knocks you on to your knees, you can stay, and this is autobiographical. This book is about an ant and an elephant going through an earthquake and all the things that go on, but it's truly an autobiographical treatment of what I realized. The opening line of the book is, there's no linear way out of chaos. Most of the books, most of the treatments, most of the courses we take is a very linear prescriptive model. Do this step, this step, this step. and you'll get to where you want to go with your business or your personal life. The earthquake is the premise of the book here is the solution loop. And it's basically three things that you're focused on: collaboration, curiosity, and creativity. And being able to collaborate, not just with others, that's obvious, but to collaborate between the conscious and subconscious mind. But what happens is, in an earthquake, is we end up feeling so frustrated because what got us here can get us there, and that just doesn't work in an earthquake. You can't think that you're going to know how to deal with this. You have to collaborate with the subconscious mind, but the subconscious mind is in pain. This divorce is just so debilitating. This bankruptcy is so annihilating for the self-esteem. This whatever's financial or personal setback health-wise is going to keep us in a state of, the subconscious mind doesn't want that kind of pain again. And so collaboration is, think of it this way. We're in a vehicle, we're in a relationship, the conscious and subconscious mind. And we each have our hands on the steering wheel, and we keep saying, no, it's this, no, it's this way. And the subconscious mind is going, no, it's this way. And so there's this, the collaboration isn't about let me drive and you take, no, we're in this together. And so collaboration ends up being a dynamic of letting go of subconscious and conscious notions. And that is a very, very difficult thing, especially when you're in pain. So the book took 5 years to write. I got the concept right away, but what's the solution? What's the solution? Look, what can be so innovative that has people go, oh, get me out of this thing. I don't want to feel this way anymore. So.
Oh, that is, you've like everything you're saying, like it like triggered like certain thoughts in my own head of like our own personal earthquakes, if you will. And it also brought up, is it 2 weeks ago or was it last week, Aaron, Pat Pearson, when she was talking about self-sabotage. I could see where, again, the earthquake is tying back to your conscious, subconscious mind telling you can't do something because of the conflict that you have in that earthquake that's happening in your subconscious.
Yeah, and it's subconscious. So you're getting this can't do it, and it's not your below consciousness. You're not conscious of this messaging that is just fixated on this isn't going to work, or you can't do this, or I'm not going to go there because that's painful. All this stuff. So seeking that alignment between the conscious and subconscious mind is actually happens from a letting go of that bias that we have, and bias at a conscious and subconscious level. Changing bias, good luck. I mean, it's going to take work.
Yeah. Vince, when is the book available and where can we get it?
Yeah, so it's available for pre-order right now, anywhere, everywhere. Okay. But the official date that you can get it is November 30th. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, super excited. And I saw this earlier and I was like, is that true? Did you actually get a quote from the Dalai Lama?
Yeah. No, yeah. I know a guy.
Like, we're not worthy, Vince. We're not worthy. Oh my goodness. So for those that want to get a hold of you, what's the best way they can get a hold of you?
My website.
Or learn more.
VincePoscente.com. If you know how to spell Poscente, then you're golden.
You're awesome. The quiz for people. They can't work with you unless they're smart enough to spell Poscente.
Right. Sorry, it's a litmus test.
Oh my God. Vince, if I had to do that with everyone, Aaron and I would never make any money. I'm just letting you know right now.
Yeah,
you might as well just go broke right now.
Spell your last name.
You know what though? If you actually, so it looks impossible, but if you actually just sound it out, it's all right there. Yeah. So torn rat. It's all right there. It's just funny.
Okay, I've got to do it that way. I look at it and just see letters.
Yeah.
Hey, well, I grew up with it. I got Tootsie Rolls as a kindergartner because I didn't understand I was spelling my name right. So my teacher kept giving me Tootsie Rolls. I just thought she liked me. So, whatever. So Vince, it's been such a pleasure. And, I'm just so excited for, your book to come out and to read more about it because you're so inspirational. So thank you so much for your time. And thank you for sharing your thoughts on ESG because I do believe it is the wave of our future, if you will. It's not a trend. I think it's pretty much going to stick around.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So on that note, then, so Aaron, do you have any parting thoughts on Glow?
Yeah. So all of this is part of the business acceleration Accelerator. I always screw that up. 2.0 series every Thursday. Join Glow. You can head over to withglow.com, or you can head over to their Facebook and YouTube and watch it live. We'd love for you to be part of the community, and you can join over at withglow.com. C and I are the co-chairs of the Dallas chapter. We'd love for you to be premier members. We've got a Christmas party coming up, some other great content. So make sure you join so we can include you in that. And like I said, withglow.com.
Excellent. And on that note, for next week, speaking of which Business Acceleration 2.0 series, we are going to welcome Mr. Rex Curzius. Oh, speaking of names, I hope we're saying it correctly. Rex Curzius, 3 exits and a home run. So this individual, let's just say if you've had some successful exits as an entrepreneur, you got to be doing something right along the way. So on that note, guys, check it out. It is free for those that are interested in joining and just checking it out as a basic member. Obviously, we encourage you to become a premium member so you can actually get that community interaction. You also can get access to the Business Finishing School forums, which is so critically important. I know Vince was gracious enough to share his forum with us. We'd love to get that going here in the Dallas area. And guys, any last parting thoughts before we peace out for the next week?
No, I'll say something about interesting fact about Rex for next week. So he's a massively successful entrepreneur. He's got Asset Panda right now. And his brother just sold a tiny company you may have heard of called MailChimp.
Yeah.
So there is
$12 billion.
Yeah. So there is some
co-founder of MailChimp, $12 billion with a B.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I would like their parents to write a book about
Yes.
parenting.
Yeah.
Just saying. I don't want your book, Vince. Yours is number 1. Theirs would be number 2.
Well, yeah, that would be my number 1. Theirs, but anyway.
All right, so everyone, go buy, pre-order The Earthquake. It's available on Amazon and also vinceposcente.com. And especially if you want to learn more about Vince, book him for a speaking engagement. He's an amazing presenter. He likes to jump on chairs. Google that, check it out. And Vince, thank you so much for your time.
I love spending time with you both, so thank you.
Thank you. And on that note, I think that will wrap it up for another episode of the Afterglow Live Recap Podcast. See ya until next week. Cheers all.